Hey everybody, Mr. Klein here. I am hanging out with our favorite Google Sheet, samples of human height. Today we're going to be looking at box plots. Hey, remember that data that we studied a couple weeks ago about bone density, where we had the bone density scores of young people, and of elderly people? Well, I would like to compare those using a box plot. The problem is that technically you can't get Google Sheets to make you a box plot. So I'm going to show you what Google Sheets can do, and then we will look at some other options. I already set it up for you. I found the minimum, quartile 1, quartile 3, and max. On Google Sheets, you don't find the median because technically what it's going to give you is not a box plot. It's something very similar called a candlestick graph. They use them a lot in finance. So you highlight youth, and then the 4 values that go with youth, elderly, and the 4 values that go with elderly rather than 5. And then you hit insert chart, and you'll get something that looks like this, like a bar graph. You want to change from that column chart down here to the thing that looks similar to a box plot. And there it is. This is called a candlestick graph. Let's see, can I get it to move? Buddy, oh, let me do this. Let's move you out of the way. What you're looking at is something called a candlestick graph. It does the same thing as a box plot, except for it's not going to have a median on it. It also can't handle outliers. So for instance, let's change one of the values. Let's do this negative 3.88. Let's make this a negative 6, which would be an outlier. Okay, it just makes the candlestick longer. All right, so 2 downsides here. You don't have a median. It doesn't do outliers. Let's see if we can find a better way. Come on over here and copy these data. And then there will be a link. You'll find it on Canvas, and that'll take you to something called Chart Studio, which is part of the Plotly suite of data analysis tools. Now, in order to get all like the high-end stuff that comes with Plotly, you have to pay for it. But what we have right here is in a limited way free. So I'm going to do a control paste, and I'm going to paste our 2 sets of data here into columns A and B. You're going to need to delete this row. And then I'm going to change the names to youth and to elderly. Okay. Now, here is how you get your box plots. There's this button that's called a trace. And so you're going to select a trace. Here, if I click on the choices, it has a scatter plot right now. I would like this one, a box plot. Okay, and once I select the box plot, then I can say I would like this to be for the youth data, and it is a horizontal graph. All right, so there's our box plot. If I choose trace again, and then I make a second box plot, and this time, once again, in the X, I'm going to put the elderly data. Now I can get 2 comparative box plots. Pretty easy to see here that the people that are elderly have much, much lower bone density scores than the people with that are young. Now, a couple things about using the Chart Studio on Plotly. The first is that if you try to hit vertical like this, it's going to go kind of funky. If you want it to be a vertical graph, what you need to do is choose the Y value and then make it vertical. And then this looks weird, so we should probably do the same thing for trace number 1. I could change, where are you? Here you are. I'm going to change this to elderly. Okay, and now we've got our vertical box plots. The one downside is you can notice that I didn't change that -6 data before, and it did not give us a outlier. In fact, I could change it to something like a -12. It's just going to give you a really, really long whisker on that plot. So in summation, Plotly Better because it actually gives us a box plot, but not so great because it doesn't give us the outliers, which brings us to the best option, which is right here. Imagine you go to Excel. Now, I know that a lot of us don't own Excel, and if you don't own it, don't go out and buy it. You'll just do the best you can with what we have. But in Excel, you can really easily type the data in here. I'm going to change this back to the negative 3.88 that it was before. And then you go to Insert. When you go to the Insert menu, you're going to see a whole range of different kinds of graphs. Go to the one that looks like a histogram. And then here, that's where your box plot is hiding. If I select it, we're instantly going to get a nice looking plot. And then you'll notice that on this, if I change one of the values to an actual outlier, that outlier will appear. If I change another one to an outlier, two outliers will appear. So this is just much better. Across the board, Excel is better software for making graphs, but again, you got to buy it, so that's why we're not using it. Okay, so that's the game. That's how to make box plots.